You know when you see a barrister in court with the whole wig and gown getup? Well, you're looking at more than just a lawyer. You're seeing a professional who is bound by this incredibly deep and demanding code of conduct. It's a set of rules that literally governs their every move. So, what's actually in that code?
I mean, it's a really fundamental question for any justice system, right? How do you make sure that the people arguing these crucial cases, representing you and serving the court, are held to the absolute highest standard? This isn't just about trust, it's about the very foundation of justice itself.
Well, the answer is right here, the Bar Standards Board Handbook. And listen, this is not some book of helpful suggestions. Oh no, this is the official, mandatory rulebook for every single barrister. It's designed to make sure they're acting professionally, ethically, and always with the public's interest at heart. At the very core of that handbook, you'll find 10 core duties. You can honestly think of them as the 10 commandments for barristers. They are the bedrock principles that the entire profession's integrity is built on.
That's right, just 10. But don't let that small number fool you for a second. These 10 duties are the foundation for the whole regulatory framework. Every single other rule and piece of guidance flows directly from these core obligations. And, as we're about to see, the most important ones have a very clear hierarchy.
Okay, and this right here is absolutely crucial. This shows the hierarchy. A barrister's first, most important duty, that's core duty 1, is to the court and to the administration of justice. This duty is paramount. It overrides everything else, and that includes their duty to act in their client's best interests. So what does that mean? It means a barrister can never, ever mislead the court, no matter what their client wants them to do. So, that's the big picture principle. But what does this rulebook actually mean for you if you ever need to hire a barrister? Well, it turns out these duties give you a whole bunch of protections.
The handbook gives you some key protections as the client. For starters, Core Duty 6 means everything you tell them is completely confidential. They also have to give you clear terms of work and costs. They are required to be competent and to constantly keep their legal skills sharp. They absolutely cannot unlawfully discriminate. And you know, the rules get really specific. They even have a duty to read your instructions promptly because justice can't afford to wait around. Now, this is a worry a lot of people have. You might think a barrister could just refuse your case if it seems unpopular, or maybe a bit controversial, or if it just doesn't look like a winner. So what do the rules say about that? This is actually one of the most important principles for making sure everyone has access to justice. It's called the cab rank rule. And it's just what it sounds like. Just like a taxi at the front of a rank has to take the next passenger, a barrister must accept a case if it's within their area of practice and they're available. It doesn't matter who the client is or what the case is about. This rule ensures that even the most unpopular person or cause can get proper legal representation.
Of course, it's one thing to have these rules on paper, but applying them in the real world, well, that can lead to some incredibly tricky situations. This is where that code is really put to the test, forcing barristers to navigate some really complex ethical dilemmas.
Okay, let's talk about the classic movie scenario. You're accused of a crime, and you turn to your barrister and you privately tell them, "I did it." What on earth are they supposed to do now? Can they even still defend you?
And here is the ethical tightrope they have to walk. Your confession, it's confidential under Core Duty 6. They cannot tell the court or the police or anyone. But because their duty to the court, Core Duty 1, is paramount, they cannot knowingly mislead it. This means they can't stand up and argue that you're innocent, they can't put you on the witness stand to lie. What they can do is rigorously test the prosecution's evidence and argue that the case just hasn't been proven beyond a reasonable doubt. It is such a fine line.
So what happens when a barrister doesn't walk that line? What if they actually break the rules? The system has to have a really robust way of holding them accountable. Otherwise, public trust just crumbles.
The complaints process is actually very clearly laid out. Your first move is to use the internal complaints procedure at the barrister's chambers. If that doesn't get things sorted, you have the right to escalate your complaint to the independent legal ombudsman. The whole thing is recorded and kept confidential, making sure there's a clear paper trail and full accountability.
And for the really serious breaches of the code, the Bar Standards Board itself can step in and launch an investigation. This can lead to some major disciplinary action. We're talking fines, suspension, or even being disbarred, which means they can no longer practice as a barrister.
Okay, so we've looked at the duties, the rights, and what happens when things go wrong. But let's just pull back for a second and look at the bigger picture. Why does having such a detailed, demanding code matter so much?
You know, what's really remarkable is that this code goes way beyond just what happens in a courtroom.
It's about building a fairer profession from the inside out. The rules say that chambers have to have an equality and diversity officer. They have to train people in fair recruitment. They need clear policies on parental leave and flexible working. They even have to collect and review data on diversity. This is all about making the bar, and by extension justice, accessible to everyone.
At the end of the day, that's the goal. Every single rule, from the cab rank principle to the duty to the court to diversity monitoring, it's all there for one fundamental reason: to ensure that when you seek justice, the person standing up for you is doing it fairly, competently, and with the highest ethical standards possible.
It's a really powerful ideal, but it does leave us with one last big question, doesn't it? Can a book of rules, no matter how carefully written, truly guarantee justice for all? Or does the sheer complexity of law and human nature mean that any strict code will always have its limits? Or maybe even create brand new loopholes? That's something to think about.